Feedback. Keep talking. So welcome everybody, especially partners in the Rotarians, but particularly we've got a couple of distinguished guests, one of them here, Past District Governor Jonathan Usher. You'll hear more from him later. But we've also got, for the second time this month, come over the hill, our Rotary Community Leader, Leanne Murray. So, thank you. Marie said we're not doing apologies, but I said, oh, we'll do a few. So there's apologies from those that are simply just not here. That's all right. We have had a few extras turn up, so as it happens, we've got a slight overrun. But we did get a formal apology from Nikki Kerry, who's got family in Canada, and Richard and Helen Howarth about 5 times, because Richard's feeling very, very guilty because he was away last year as well. Jeff and Karen Clay, they've also formally apologised, and there was a bit of discussion on that, because Jeff has promised to be here next year, and we think Marie will follow up on that. But also my wife, Marg, has asked me to apologise on her behalf. As we speak, she will be walking away from a little town in Spain called Sarria. Looking forward to the next town where she and my daughter will stop for breakfast. They're now on the last 100 kilometres of the 800 kilometres of the Camino Trail. They started that about 5 weeks ago. So I'll catch up with her in Dubrovnik about 10 days' time. She keeps sending photos of her toes, and I'm bloody glad I'm not there walking. Anyway, it's 2 days short of a year since Marie gave me these chains, and tonight, later on, I'm going to give them back to her. We still have 60 active members, and we're up to 15 honorees. We continue to provide financial support to the local and international needs, and we still have a healthy bank balance to help in our community. Last year I noted that it was Matariki, obviously that was a few days ago now. It marks the beginning of a new year, just like Rotary. Time to mourn the deceased, celebrate the present, and prepare the ground for the coming year. Can we stop that squealing, Jonathan?
Yeah, I'll try.
Thank you. At the time of the changeover last year, I noted 6 areas of interest for the club to explore, and I want to now reflect on progress. The first was building collaborations between Rotary clubs and other organisations. And I look back, and we worked with 8 other clubs to buy equipment for the Women's Health Bus, so that to me was a big win. We've got warming relationships and working quite closely on a few things with the Aspiring Rotary Club, including them doing the catering tonight and the crop competition. So, yeah, just that sort of outlook. I wanted to strengthen our focus on youth by making available our collective knowledge and experience. We've continued with the scholarships and the rider driving program, but I don't know that we've extended the other, and maybe that's something for next year. Rotary a few years ago introduced environmental focus, and we tested a bit of interest in whether there was interest in wilding pines, and George was the lone pine standing in the field, I think, when it came to a working bee. So I still think we could get alongside those guys. Wilding pines are a problem, but so is Cotoneaster and all the rest of it on many of the walking tracks. But we have recently decided, or going through the process of giving the local group that don't get national funding, the local part of not fish and game, it's the other one, forest and bird, some money to buy some equipment that they're happy to use themselves and also make available to other parts of the community. I touched on the 7 areas of focus, and I can report that we've used them quite a bit internally to guide some of the decision making on grants but not so much in the public-facing communications, but we have used them internally. I wanted to provide development pathways for training for members seeking personal development, possibly within the club. And this year it was pleasing to have 2 first-timers on the group of directors and 1 other returning in a new role. So just creating a matrix of knowledgeable people. I also talked about sharing ideas on the evolution of the club. We're lucky here because we get so many people coming in from outside, but at the end of the day there's more grey hair than not in this room. And so that evolution just still needs to be taking place, and I have to thank the admin and the membership committees. Both have provoked quite a lot of discussion, obviously in their own committees, but also around the board table on how the club might operate in the future. So a real positive. So overall, I think the grey hair we can make more use of in trying to help youth find their way in the world. But apart from that, I think I'm happy. The other areas of focus that I talked about last year were avenues of community service and a platform for multiple social gatherings. The Women Health Bus I've mentioned was 40 odd grand. We were able to raise from all the clubs in the district, and we bought a PCR machine so that they can provide a complete service on the spot in remote locations. Personally, it's probably the highlight of my year that we were able to pull that together. I was brought up in a small rural community where, as a kid, if you were going into Invercargill, Mum would ring the neighbours and say anything you want in town. We were remote enough that that's just the way you live. And while the roads are a lot better now and the cars are better, there's still a lot of people are remote. And to get medical care, they need to go away for a day or 2. And obviously that involves often losing time and income. So anyway, we did that. Also, and it was part of the crop competition, we bought, again with the help of the district grant, some updated cardiac monitoring equipment for Dunstan Hospital. Last year we gave 19,000 to the Rescue Helicopter Trust. We're probably going to give them another 25 soon. On top of that, there was 10 community groups, and I had a list, but I'm not going to go through it, ranging from Grow Wanaka Food Bank to the Patonk group. We helped fund various things that they had on their agendas. We also helped quite a few, it was about a dozen, individuals pursuing their own development. And there's a crossover in it that in some of the cases, those are the people that make Wanaka famous. But those younger people mostly included Albert Bounce, Spirit Adventure, some of them were skiers, and we did quite a bit with setting up a Kapa Haka concert. We helped with some local mental health initiatives, driver training. We paid for getting about 180 students from MAC from here down to Highland Park so that they could hopefully become better drivers and think a wee bit before they do some of the things that young people, particularly young boys, do. And of course we also continued with the MAC and KO Youth scholarships. Internationally, we bought 3 ERICs, emergency response kits, 1 shelter box, gave $1,000 to the Vanuatu appeal, and Polio Plus and the Rotary Foundation, we've donated about $115 per member, shared between those 2. Social activities, which was the second thing, because I have a personal belief. People want to contribute in the community, so we just talked about that. They also need a reason to actually get out of the house and do stuff. It's good for lots of reasons. So the social activity, very pleased. We had our 40th celebrations. Some of us were here. Thank you. And with Ken. Ken's Goldfinches somewhere, maybe. He's there. We had an inaugural four-wheel drive. I missed out on it, I forget where I was, but
That was fantastic.
it sounded like quite an adventure. So hopefully it'll happen again sometime. But the annual events, the trout fishing, the winter bowls and the golf and the Christmas party and the spring soiree and the Melbourne Cup, they all happen. And possibly the highlight, guess who's coming for dinner? So there's a real hub here that provides a huge lot of social interaction, and I just think it's great to do it for itself, but it's also a core to the club and why we do stuff together. John Norman was instrumental, or more than instrumental, in organising vocational visits to Stoke, to Upper Clutha Transport. That was a real eye-opener. It's not just big sheds, they've got their own motels out there. Hardware Station, Hardware Wave, and just recently Foursquare. So overall, I think it's been a pretty active year because we've done a lot of things, had some fun, we've spent quite a lot of money, we've earned quite a lot of money, and I think we're in a good state. And a number of people that have rocked up. Marie, you've done a good job of rounding everybody up, and they're here ready to go. So anyway, now it's time for me to say a few thank yous and to present a Paul Harris Fellowship. How are we going for time? Pretty good. But before I get on to the Paul Harris, I just want to say, and I haven't seen it, Rosie Burridge. Rosie's over there, I think. Rosie, I just want to thank you, take a moment to thank you for the years and years and years of finding and finalising arrangements for our speakers. It's a huge amount of work you do, or have been doing, so thank you. And the other, well no, there's a couple of others, but Ron got noted at the Christmas wind-up, but your ongoing work with the audio-visual gear, the speaker and the microphone, it is appreciated. It makes stuff work, so don't go away and hide. Thank
you. Well done, Ronnie.
And I also want to thank this year's directors. I mean, it's a traditional thing to do, but I do. We've had some robust debates on stuff, and I think the last meeting was the only one that we pretty much ended within a 2-hour period. But it's like, no, we haven't stifled debate, we've battered through things. But I don't know if either of them are here, but I especially wanted to thank Richard Gray and Elaine Kelly, who stepped up as first-time directors. And we need that flow of new blood. So I thank them. The club simply wouldn't operate without the directors as a whole. That's where stuff gets done. And it's some pleasure I take out of the fact that I think everybody, it clashes with Bridge for one of us, but everybody else is continuing on, so with Marie. So that's great. Anyway, I now have a citation to read, but to make sure the recipient pays attention, Peter Borry, I want you to come up here, please. It's not a corner, it's not a naughty corner, clearly, but stand and pay attention.
The same school as I was a senior.
And his father used to be my medical advisor in those years. Anyway, in 1905, it was in 1905, that an American Paul Harris founded the Rotary Organisation. An award in his name, being a Paul Harris Fellowship, is held in the highest regard in the Rotary world. In New Zealand, the Paul Harris Fellowship Award is recognition for outstanding work and contribution to Rotary and the community. You listen? This evening, we are celebrating the presentation of a Paul Harris Fellowship Award to a member of our club. Peter was born in Dunedin and attended John McLachlan College. He was a talented sportsman when attending Otago Medical School, looked the part in a pale blue jersey.
Pale blue jacket.
Nothing much has changed, has it? Anyway, so they were the University of Otago rugby colours, and he made a break against opposing teams. He was the flashing light blue of Peter. He joined the Dunedin Central Rotary Club in 1979 and was a foundation member. The club met in the evening at 7 p.m. at the impressive Savoy building in the heart of Dunedin City. He has affectionately recalled one of the bigger projects the club undertook, which entailed painting the St Clair Esplanade, which is a large area encompassing the seawall and car parking area. Gallons of paint hit the mark. Peter's grandfather, William Borry, was the first doctor in Port Chalmers. His father, Alex Borry, my GP at the time, was also a doctor in Dunedin, and there was nothing more satisfying but to follow in their footsteps. After qualifying through Otago Medical School, he initially practiced as a general practitioner with his father in Moray Place. He recalls his father being a huge help to him as a young practitioner, particularly with patients with psychological problems. After a period with his father, Peter moved to Roslyn, where he joined forces with another practitioner, and he continued his dedicated service to the community as a GP for some 40 years. Mission impossible. Anyway, Peter met his wonderful wife Berry while he was attending medical school. And as a flash to the past, he described her as the most attractive nurse in Dunedin. After their marriage, they travelled on an OE to the United Kingdom, where Peter was seconded to the New Zealand cricket team, who were touring England at the time. He was the team doctor. But he's not telling any of the stories for repeating on a night like tonight. One of Peter's favourite drinks is Dewar's whiskey, and while in the UK, he made himself known to the CEO of Dewar's, who made a real fuss of him. Peter retired from general practice on turning 68, and he shifted to Wanaka permanently around 11 years ago. Peter's family, including his grandfather and his father, have established over many years a retreat at Doctor's Point, just north of Dunedin. Memorabilia of his family's colourful history and achievements decorate this iconic property, and Peter's extremely proud of the display. Peter and Berry had 3 children, 2 daughters and a son, and 6 grandchildren. Unfortunately, Berry suffers from dementia, and Peter continues to provide dedicated and loving support for her needs. Peter loves books, golf, occasional fishing. You don't lose those days off your life fishing, you know. Recalling his family escapades, but hates, and I get this, hates parting with his family mementos collected over many years. You tell Mark, Judy. Long-serving Rotarian Doug Lovell invited Peter to join Rotary in Wanaka. Thankfully, Peter agreed, and he joined the club in 2014. Peter has been a wonderful member, enthusiastic, sometimes noisy, responsive to requests, which culminated in him taking on the role of director of club activities for 2 terms, and over that period with his committee, providing a huge number, and I'll just talk about some of them, a huge number of activities and fun for the club and its members. The club is extremely grateful to Peter.
Yeah.
Peter, the members of the Rotary Club of Wanaka acknowledge the dedication, work ethic and enthusiasm that you have brought to Rotary, and in particular to our club and the local community. We congratulate you on this well-deserved award.
A step too far for me with my arthritis.
Stick this on you. That might brighten the evening up.
You know, you feel a small prick, Peter.